Great. So welcome to the post-lunch panel discussion on digital inclusion, justice, and community empowerment. I'm excited to be with this great panel of practitioners, digital literacy educators, people in the field really tackling these challenges every day. My name is Bryan Mercer. I'm executive director at the Media Mobilizing project. We're based in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I've worked in the past as a digital literacy educator myself and worked to create public computer centers in Philly during the Broadband Technology Opportunities Program, which I know is a big predecessor and lead up to the NDIA work that we're all involved in. And more recently have helped to push for Philadelphia Digital Literacy Alliance to fund digital literacy, digital inclusion programming in our city. And so, yeah, I'm really excited to have the set of speakers that we have with us today. They each bring a deep experience on doing digital inclusion work in their communities and leading efforts that really deepen the community impact and advance justice through digital literacy, through digital inclusion efforts, through getting people online. So let me introduce them. To my right, we have Wanda Davis. Wanda has served the University Circle, Ashbury, Glenville communities in Cleveland, Ohio, in a number of capacities over decades. She's volunteered and worked with many organizations in management and administration. And in 2002, Wanda, she really realized that the greatest need in her community was addressing the lack of technology access, and she dedicated herself to gaining technology skills and advancing those skills in her community, especially through work with seniors. We also have Shenee King. It's Shenee's first time at the conference, so welcome her here. She's with the she's with the CHN Housing Partners in Cleveland, Ohio, and she works with parents and guardians with and school-age children throughout the city. And we have Mr. Lazone Gray, and Lazone is the founder and president of IBSA Inc., which is a nonprofit in Kansas that has been providing employment and training services for low-income youth and adults who are receiving public assistance. And he's been doing that since 1993 and brings a great and deep history on development and advocacy around welfare reform and workforce training development and other work to alleviate poverty. So we have a great panel, and actually we'll, just for format, to give you a sense, I'll put out a few questions to help bring forward each of their experiences, and then we'll open it up for just broader discussion as a large group in this room, when it would be really great to hear about the kind of work practices and challenges that each of you are seeing in your day-to-day work too. So to start us off, tell us about yourself, your work, and how does digital inclusion relate to the issues in your community, the issues and challenges in your community?
Okay, again, I'm Wanda Davis. My acronym ASC3 stands for Ashbury Senior Computer Community Center. We broke it down to our acronym because during these 16 years we've had to serve some youth, 17 and upward. So 17 upward to 96, and we also do a summer youth program, usually some activity related to technology every summer during the time the kids are out, and then we give them a great big back to school party to go back and have some more fun for the rest of the year. But we've been delivering digital literacy to Clevelanders for this period of time. Again, back in 2002, I gave you, actually go back to 2001. And I'll talk about when I had actually taken my mom to the doctor. And I told this story to a few of you a couple times before. And so, you know, as we get older, I think I'm getting to that age again now myself. But we take the role on as helping our parents and taking care of them and then starting to make sure that they're healthy. So I had taken Mom to the doctor, and way back then, 2002, you know, we would go in, check them in, and then we have a seat, and the nurse would call them up and go and take their weight and maybe do a couple other things and send them back to us before the doctor actually would see them. Well, back then, the nurse came. She took Mom to the back, around the back. I couldn't really see around the back, but I realized that that usual 10 to 12 minutes turned into 15 and then 20. So stop my reading and say, let me go see what's going on. So I walk around and peep. Mom, there she's sitting there diligently looking at the screen, at the CRT monitor, and looking at us. And I said, what are you doing? She said, well, the lady told me to sit here and fill out my information on this thing. I said, on what thing? And she said, right here, come here, sit and look. So I went on there, sat next to her. I said, oh my goodness, they have you on the computer, you'll never make it. Anyway, so I went and filled out her information. But actually being an activist in the community, I already knew, and working on different charrettes, I knew that the digital technology piece was missing in our communities. And I know that was something that needed to be addressed. Well, with Mom, that put the icing on the cake. So immediately, I went back to the board I was serving on at the time and told them about what I was seeing and what I was feeling and what I know the next need to be in a storefront location in our area. I didn't want it to be inside the schoolhouse. I didn't want it to be in a library because I know we needed to go directly to the community. And at that point, we did a survey, my very first survey in the community, and asked them, would this be something they'd like to have? And of course, that's how we evolved from being on another board, working in the community, realizing what would be needed for us to empower our residents for the next few years, and then doing a study from the neighborhood and asking them, is this something that you would like to see in our neighborhood? And then going through and making ASC3 come to life and make it happen. So since that time, small community, nonprofit like us, 1.5 staff, maybe a lot more volunteers. We've served over 7,200 individuals, delivering digital technology to them throughout the city. We have made many partners, which I'll talk about just a little later, and I'll pass the baton over to Shenee.
Hello, everybody. My name is Shenee King, and I work with CHN Housing Partners. And CHN Housing Partners is a nonprofit property development organization. We also help people with utility assistance, eviction prevention, foreclosure prevention, and we have a computer lab and are now, since November when I got hired, doing digital inclusion and training. I do a lot of training with one-on-one with seniors as well as families. I'm also a certified Google trainer. I'm also what's called an Info Ohio iCoach. And this year, I'm a N10 fellow, cohort number 5, and that's how I got into all of this, because I didn't know what all of that was until I dived in a lot deeper. My main goal for our digital inclusion through CHN Housing Partners is working with families who are residents in our communities. We have apartment buildings, we have single family homes, we have neighborhoods. We're growing in neighborhoods. Our international village will be opening up this summer, where we have 22 families who are new Americans or have English as a second language, who have single family homes in a particular neighborhood. So we will be providing free hotspots to all of those families as well as training. We partner with PCs for People, get the word out all over Cuyahoga County, which is our county, about our services and how to get technology, either free or low cost. We provide families who are going through the eviction process, who are saved from eviction. They will be receiving, there will be 75 families this summer who will receive devices as well as internet access through hotspots, and we pay for the first 3 months of their internet access. But I do a lot of one-on-one training with seniors. I have found that Cleveland, I don't know if people know, but Ohio is like the mecca for public libraries. And in Ohio, in Cleveland, we have libraries everywhere. I believe we have a total of like something like 70 different branches. And they all provide some type of computer training. But what I keep running into is my seniors tell me that they go too fast. and their skill levels are so low that they can't reach the basic class. So I do a lot of one-on-one trainings with my seniors, and my favorite line is, I think I'd learned something. And they tell me that a lot, and we go as slow as they need to go. If that means we spend, and I have definitely done 4 sessions, just making sure you can log into your email. We'll do 4 more if that's what it takes. So my goal is to be as patient and as slow as my patrons need, my clients need, so that they feel successful. We also, as an intern fellow, we've been encouraged to complete our intern project, and my goal is to train 300 people, whether that is seniors or teens, because I also work with teen entrepreneurs who are residents of Cleveland Housing Network or go to Cleveland Municipal School District through our Youth Opportunities Unlimited program. Let me see, I had stuff written down. Okay. We work with underprepared. My goal personally is families. I was a librarian at a middle school, and we have a lot of senior caregivers, parents and guardians who do not have the skills they need in order for their children to be successful. Our schools, some of our schools in our districts are heavily reliant on computers and technology, and there is a large population of parents and guardians who have no idea how to use them. Our teachers and principals are not always educated and don't know how to show them how to use them if they're using the information themselves. We have principals and teachers who do not use their school websites, who do not know how to access the information that is available on the website. So if you are a parent and you need to ask, how do I get to my students' grades? Because some of our districts no longer print report cards anymore, there's a 60% chance your teacher can't tell you how to do that. So where do you go? Most districts do not have training programs. They don't have a contact person for those elderly people. Or even if you're not elderly and you're caring for kids, you could be a 30-year-old person who's worked in factories all your life. You've never had to sit in front of a computer, so you don't have those skills as well. And there's rarely a space or a person in a school or a district that can help you bridge that gap. So for me, that is one of the driving forces behind what I do. But luckily, reaching those same families is a broad reach. It covers a lot of things. Not only are you better prepared to help your child with that standardized test that is only done online now, you're also now able to do a job search. You're now able to, if you work 2 or 3 shifts and you can't get to your teachers' open houses and your parent-teacher conferences, and your administrative staff and your teachers are now thinking you're a bad or unattentive parent, now you can video chat with a teacher or a principal. You get more tools so that you can reach your school and you can improve the communication, so that they parents just don't care. Can be minimized, because I worked in the school, I was behind the scenes, I saw and heard that conversation multiple times. That is what a lot of administrators, that's what a lot of teachers think, that the parents just don't care. But a lot of times not only do you not work at 8 to 5, you work into the evening shift, you are caring for elderly relatives, you are caring for special needs family members, and your time does not necessarily belong to you. So if you are trained in technology, you can use that to your benefit. And lastly, working in the schools, I saw a lack of accessibility for students with special needs, whether that's you have visual impairments, you are hearing impaired, you have physical mobility issues. The technology is there. It is in existence. It is right here for you to grab and hand to a child. And most of our administrators and superintendents and folks who sign the budgets don't know it exists, don't have time to invest in it, or are less likely to believe that it will work because there are so many other things on their plate. So making sure families know about those assistive technologies is very important, so that a mom can go into that school and say, no, my baby's not gonna sit here without an interpreter all day. You're going to use this, this, and this, or we're gonna have a real issue. So making sure that my families and my communities are prepared and equipped is my driving force. And thank y'all.
Thank you, and welcome to the Net Inclusion. And I want to thank the National Digital Inclusion Alliance for having this forum, Angela, everyone, because the time is now. When I started our organization back in 1992, and of course, I think it was like Windows 3.0. We hadn't even got to Windows 95. The technology that we have today did not exist. And so I had a hard time getting a job when I graduated. And so, well, when you're going through legal assistant and they're teaching you the legal foundation of businesses, it's like, well, I can either you learn about starting for-profit businesses and nonprofits. Well, I'll start a nonprofit. So I started our organization while I was a student at Washburn. I took my last student loan and sort of partitioned it and opened up an office in downtown Topeka. And this was in '93. I remember when we had our open house, there was somebody who was standing behind the door. It was a probation officer, and he said, this won't last for 3 years. And so here I am, years later, that our organization is still there. We've probably served over 10,000 people some way or another over that period of time. And he's retired, and I see him needing a second job being a security officer, watching, blank parking lots, at 7, 9 o'clock at night. But a lot of times you never know who people are going to become 10, 15, 20 years down the road. And I've worked with the low-income population, the people who are on cash assistance. They have to go to the welfare agency. And sometimes, yes, it's like the caseworkers. They have a minimal expectation of individuals, that you are a second or third generation and you're going to create the next fourth or fifth generation. But within those individuals that's sitting in that lobby asking for services is people that have hope. I came from a household like that. And what you can do with education. Now, let's consider in 1993 that we didn't have smartphones and responsive sites and tablets and Wi-Fi and things of that nature there. Let's consider that all of the job applications were print applications, but let's fast forward today, and close to 90% of all the job applications, you have to go online. And so we have we still have those who are needing cash assistance, who don't have the best education in a public school that has been strapped and failing for many generations of people. I mean, I've seen 13-year-olds go to 27 who can still barely read, and they're told with welfare reform, you need to get a job. And when we have our welfare reform, you have to put in 31 applications a week. And so they say, go down to the job service center. And no one stopped and see, well, she can't spell, can't write very well, grammar, bad punctuation, and they're supposed to just sit there and fill out an application and click submit. Well, we know what happens when an application comes on the other end and it's packed full of spelling errors and grammatical deficiencies. So fortunately, I learned as a nonprofit, a lot of times we start wanting grants and contributions, but as a social enterprise thinking, we should have fee for services and contracts. So we started contracting with our state agency. Some of it was free work. Some of it was paid work. The free work, that if you wanted to receive cash assistance, you could do 20 hours a week in a nonprofit doing work. Well, I could have them cleaning tables and vacuuming floors, or I could start teaching them what I knew about computers, of office clerical. When they come in, they do 45 minutes worth of Mavis Beacon. They start doing some work in our organization, and before they leave, they do 45 minutes worth of Mavis Beacon, because we may only have them for 3 months. And I have consistently seen people come in hunting and pecking when they start, and then this is how they are when they leave. 55% word accuracy, or 55 words a minute, 99% accuracy. It's really just a conditioning of what they do. And so most people who were in the receiving assistance, part of it that they couldn't get a job is they had such a wide area of unemployment in between when they first had their job and they last had it. But once they start working in our organization, they can revise their resume. Where are you working? IBSA Inc. What is your duties and responsibilities? Data entry, da-da-da. And so we're starting to rebuild them so that it wasn't so much of digital literacy or digital skills training. The terminology wasn't really out there in 94, 98 at that time. But that's really what we were doing. That I would be the person who can encourage them, because we're writing grants, not that we would win, but I would rather them assist us and start learning how to write grants and understanding Microsoft Excel and formulas at an early stage, so that over time, when they learned it, they would already know it. So these are the type of things that even today, when we have a more of a national policy to where it's work first, get to work, you need to be working. You know, we need to sort of stop and refigure out how we are delivering the type of programs, because when a case manager says, well, you need to go down to that agency's work, first off, you're mad because you're telling me I need to go somewhere. Now our agencies have to be sort of like a healing point. When they walk in and expect me to be in a suit and tie, that's not going to happen. When they expect, now I'm not going to let them just dress inappropriately or anything. When they expect that I'm going to have them vacuuming floors and doing mundane work, that's not going to happen. When I go to a meeting with the mayor, after a while, I'm going to take you with me. You're going to dress up. You're going to sit there, and you're going to see how I communicate with mayors and different people. If I can't make it to a meeting, I need to prepare you. I don't care if you've been on welfare for 6 years and you have 4 kids. You can be prepared to sit in my place at this meeting. And I have found that as they know that we care, I care, and they have been there and done that, they started asking relevant questions to leaders who really never lived that life. They don't really understand. And so when you're working with first-time juvenile offenders, many which may be their kids, again, they could be at the Helping Humane Society cleaning poop from a dog kennel or something in nature. But young people have this affinity for technology. And so we have so many things in our agency that we can gravitate adults to that deals with technology, or young people. With social media, that wasn't around in 98, 97. So web design, coding, things of that nature there. Once they come into an agency that I say is non-traditional, and they see some of the non-traditional things that we're doing, then they start sort of filling in the gaps where, as they say, get in where you fit in. They find where they want to be at. And I think that that's really where our strength lies. We're talking about mapping out our city for wireless networks. We're going to bring young people in there and ask them, go look at your neighborhood. Tell us what you think. I'm trying to pull them into the conversations to get that mind thinking, because that's what minds do.
So I think there's a whole set of really rich experiences in each of your stories, and one of the things that I got to hear from you in our prep is some of how those experiences relate to the structural challenges that we face. So, having a digital justice frame, a digital justice analysis to tackling these problems means considering how these issues are structural. They exist not just for people as individuals, but people as people in society, right? And so it'd be really great to hear some of how your work relates to that. And I think I'll start with Wanda. Just you've done so much to work across systems and across institutions, and it'd be great to hear kind of what more do you think can be done there?
Well, first, we have to actually think about where I coined a phrase from a friend of mine, our digital deserts are. Where are they still within the city of Cleveland? How many people still lack affordable quality connectivity? In Cleveland, it's still like 60% of our seniors still do not have the needed technology to participate in today's society. Telemedicine and all the different things that the government is making sure that they have to use in order to keep their benefits. So we know that there's a lot of digital injustice going on, not just in Cleveland, but across the nation. So I know that this has to be addressed, but it also had to be addressed way back in the early 2000s. As like I say, when I worked on charrettes and businesses left the Glenville University Circle and greater Cleveland area, there was nothing actually being done. And part of the reason was that there was nothing spurring the economic growth. But then here comes technology. Technology, we know from that point forward has actually started the movement of reinvestment in a lot of major cities. And how is that done? That's done through major collaborations. So how does a small center like Ashbury address those big gaps within the community? First off, we know that in order for us to have it lasted for 16 years, we had to have many, many, many collaborations. I think throughout those years we've created over 53 or more, maybe up to 70, because we were powered with anyone that said they had something to bring to the people we serve, as long as it was positive and it was headed in the upward direction towards equal technology for everyone. And so some of the things that we had to do, and everybody knows the acronyms of the four-legged stool, right? We know we had to have digital literacy, and that training had to go across the greater Cleveland. And to deliver greater literacy, we know we had to have equipment, because we know folks had to have equipment to use. And just like you say, way back in the early 90s and early 2000s, the only thing left was the big computer, with the big CRT monitors. So we've evolved way beyond that, of course. So equipment, access, and then we know we had to also have tech support for those big, huge units that would conk out for our seniors by the time they get them home. So collaborations had to be made. We made sure we made partnerships with our recyclers at that time. In Cleveland, at that time, back in the early 2000s, even the late 2000s, we only had a company called CAPS, Computers Assisting People. And we probably can get 1 or 2 computers out of them every now and then. But the major thing was donations. So a lot of times when I would seek funding from our banks and larger institutions, the only thing they could say, Wanda, well, we can't give you any money, but we can certainly give you computers, right? So I say, well, okay, if you can give me computers, then I can always upgrade to the next level in my lab, and then the computers I'm using, of course, can go right out to the people I'm serving. So that collaboration started with Computers Assisting People, and later on RET3, which is a recycling company that was early in Cleveland, and we started working with them where they would help us. So if we didn't have any to donate, they would help us with the donation, and then of course provide us with low cost quality refurbished computers. So we're able to do that, and that collaboration worked. We also had to have many partners to help us deliver, because now in Ashbury itself, 2 small rooms, maybe the size of some of the rooms that you guys were just in other seminars with, and so we had to say, well, in each one we had a set of 13 computers. So us alone, we did about 8 classes ourselves per week, and we know we had to actually go out and attract other people. So we started making partnerships across the city with the University Hospital was one, and we started delivering technology to their employees to be able to manage their LMS systems. We went out to, we actually had a program with Tri-C, our local junior college, and with them we had a program called Tilly. That partnership helped us reach a lot more people through the city of Cleveland. And then in 2010, we were lucky to be part of the BTOP program, but we partnered with CYC. And then through them, we were able to be part of the 33,000 people across the nation, and in Cleveland alone, 12,000. But partnerships have to continue. You have to continue to seek and find collaborators to make your work work, is what I'm trying to say. So, yeah, well, I have one more thing to say. Now, the other major partners are our funders, because they help to bring resources to us to help those collaborations work, so that we can continue to close the gaps in our technology systems throughout the city of Cleveland. So thanks to the Cleveland Foundation for actually trying to come up with a program where we actually want to utilize our libraries along with our tech centers, along with our refurbishers, to try to get a wraparound service going, so that there are no silos in the city of Cleveland. It's a hard task, it's a long task, but we do know with collaborations and partnerships, we can begin to continue to address the digital injustice. And so that when we come back next time, we'll be talking about full digital justice.
So thank you for that, Wanda. So Shenee, you were starting to bring out the issues of language access, of special needs assistance, of housing, and I was hoping you could just tell us more about that and both the structural barriers you're seeing in those spaces and how some of your work in technology, digital literacy is helping to address those barriers.
First, I'll start with families of folks who are from families or communities where English is their second language. One of the structural barriers in Cleveland is a weird space as far as we don't leave our neighborhoods. Everything we need is in the neighborhood we live in, whether it's a store, a doctor, a playground, whatever it is. If it's in the neighborhood that's 20 minutes away, I'm not going over there because it should be in my neighborhood, and if it's not in my neighborhood, then I must not need it. So one of the is the structural logistics of reaching the people where they live. Our Hispanic community lives among the Hispanic members of the community. Our Black community lives among the Black members of their community. Our Lithuanian community lives among the Lithuanian community. We are really that divided. You can literally drive to these different neighborhoods and eat around the world because that's where and how we live. So you physically have to visit a neighborhood and make yourself known in a neighborhood. You have to show your face in a neighborhood. Wanda has where she works is fixed. I am not fixed. I have been tasked that I can pretty much go anywhere I want as long as I'm still in Cuyahoga County, which I love because I'm a highly energetic person, and sitting in one spot all day would drive me bonkers. So I can drive to a different neighborhood. I drive through neighborhoods I never knew existed, and I stop at libraries, and I stop at elementary schools, and I stop at community centers so that I can find out, do you have a lab? Does your school use online grading systems? If it does, do they come in multiple languages? Do parents know how to translate that into the languages that they speak? Have you made an assessment of the languages that are in your school? Have you provided translations or a way to translate that? Have you taught your families how to use Google Translate? Have you taught your families how to use apps like Read and Write for Chrome? If y'all don't know what that is, it will translate a page or a document into about 200 and something different languages. You can change the sound of the person's voice from male to female. You can change that voice into different voices. Have you made that accessible to your parents? Have you made that accessible to your teachers? Do your teachers know how to use that? If you are a school that is using Google Classroom, which a lot of our suburban, what we call the inner ring suburbs, that's once you get a little money and you move out of Cleveland for a better school district, you move to the inner ring suburbs. If you make a lot more money, you move to the outer ring suburbs. That's where you have everything. Your football stadiums, every child has an iPad, every classroom has a screen, all the teachers walk around and all of their things are digital. But if you take a 20-minute ride back into the city, and I've had this happen, I went in to start, doing my spiel, and I said, well, what online grading system do you use? And the secretary looked at me with a straight face and said, what's that? Now, I have a 23-year-old child. I've been using an online grading system for 10 years in my inner ring suburb. But if I go into the Cleveland Municipal School District, the secretary did not know what that was. Now, the problem for me is, yes, it's a problem that you don't know what it is, but the bigger problem is 2 years when the district decides that we're all going to get it. And not only do you not know how to use that as the secretary, your principal doesn't, none of your teachers, and none of the 800 students and their families know what it is. And they're going to tell you in June that in September, we're going to initiate this program. And nobody's going to know. They're not going to have a plan in place to train everybody. They're not going to have a plan in place to answer questions when it drops. And that was the problem I saw, not today. But when they do decide that this is something they have to have, what are y'all going to do? Because you're not ready. This is something you need to be planning for today. And you don't even know what I'm talking about. And then when you think about, so all of CMSD, or not all, a lot of it, isn't using that. And this is at the elementary. Our elementary schools in the city are pre-K through 8. That's not how it is in the suburbs. But in the city, it's pre-K through 8. So wait, none of you are using that, but all of the inner ring suburb kids are already using it. All of the inner ring suburb kids parents are already using it. That means they have so many more steps ahead of you because you have no idea how to do that. When your son or daughter graduates from high school, like my number 2 son did, and he's now a sophomore, none of his classes are on paper. Everything is on a laptop. So if his mother wasn't computer savvy, and didn't know that I'm not spending $600 on my laptop. I'm going over here to where they fix laptops and I'm about to refurbish from the guy I got the last two from for $120. That's what I'm getting ready to do. And that's the one you're going to use, because why would I spend $600? But if I didn't know that, I would have spent that $600 because my baby needed a laptop. But I knew that you could get one much cheaper from somewhere else. But the problem I saw after a while was, he said, Mom, I gotta buy my books. Okay, go to the bookstore. No, I gotta download them. You have 5 classes and 3 of them are downloads. You don't have a laptop because you didn't graduate from a school district that gave you those skills and let you know that was gonna be necessary. You call your mother or grandmother or auntie or whomever it was that fed you and clothed you for the last couple of years, and the first thing she might say is, boy, you don't need that. What you need that for? They got books. What do? You're a 19, 17, 18, 19-year-old who you know you need it, but you have no resource for acquiring that. That has put you back a whole nother year. And if you are, I grew up, I was a Cleveland Public School student, and I was going to be an engineer because I didn't know any better. And I got to Virginia Tech, and all of my peers had all this experience and exposure to all this stuff that I had no idea about. And I think about that all of the time, because those CMSD children and their parents will graduate so far behind. They don't know the FAFSA isn't on paper anymore. You have to log in for that. You have to register for that. We had a parent in our tax, because we do taxes for free for our clients as well as CHN, who they'll say, the tax preparer will say, do you have your 1098T? What's that? Oh, that's the proof that you paid tuition last year so that you can get some of your money off for your tax returns this year. Well, that boy told me that I needed to get my taxes, but he didn't know for me to get my taxes so I could send it to the FAFSA. There's a box you can click that will automatically connect your taxes to your FAFSA. But if you don't know that, because you've never used a computer in your school life, your counselors, your teachers, your principals don't know that either. They just assume that it's been like it always has been. You can just go to the library and get a FAFSA. That's not how it works anymore, because even to get a paper copy, you got to go online to get it. So if you are an older parent or a parent who does not have the skills, or you are an illiterate parent, or you come from a family where illiteracy is generational, your child, who may have been born the brightest thing since the sun, won't have the direction they need to do the things that they are perfectly capable of doing, because there was no structure in the school that they came from to let them know this is what the world is like now and these are the skills you need to use. But if I went to Beechwood, which has a huge budget and every child gets an iPad and you get to keep it, then you know all of this. Because they've invested all this information into you, into your parents, into your family. Your mom has had to come in to participate in this or that or the other. So when you all graduate, we all graduated in 2018, but we are definitely not on the same footing. I am way behind you. My mother is way behind. She cannot assist me because she doesn't even know what I'm doing. So the structural issues are those that where you're born can determine what your success looks like. And unless you have teachers, counselors, administrators where that is the priority and the focus, then you're kind of on your own. And you hope that someone in your family will say, hey, PCs for People sells laptops for $50. If you go over here and you take your ID, and your mom get food stamps, right? Print out that benefit, take that letter, and they'll get you a laptop. If you get there early enough, they give you one free every day. But if you don't know that, then you leave for school completely unprepared. And it's more than just being unprepared. Now you're self-conscious. Why am I the only one using a notebook and a pen and everybody else is taking notes on their laptop? Then you feel like maybe I don't belong. Then you feel like, no, I don't belong. Then you decide you don't belong and you're not there anymore. So it's those structural things that don't look structural in the beginning are what keeps a lot of our children, no matter what color they are, from being as successful as they possibly could be. As well as in the school, they know, okay, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th graders, y'all gonna need some computers. I don't know how you're gonna get them now. Or if the school district decides every kid in here is gonna have a device. But if you break that device, your mama gotta pay $400. I had parents who's like, ain't no way in hell. He just won't have one. and meant it. I was the librarian. It was my responsibility to call and say, hey, Mom, we got 500 kids in the school. We only got 10 left that don't have a device. Your baby is the only one in her homeroom without a device, and she gonna stay that way. Click. And it was because she broke my laptop this summer. Ain't no way in the world I'm getting ready to waste $300 on her. She gonna have to figure it out. I asked the technology director, can we have an insurance? You know, like a little backup fund? That was the response I got. Because you know parents can't afford it. You know they can't. You know Bobby Wild is all get out. That's going to be broke next week. Can we set it up so that if Bobby breaks this, Mom can come in and at least get half covered? Because without it, there is no alternative. There are no books. There is no written format. Bobby has to come to the library every day for class. And then his teacher's yelling at him because why this and why that and how come? Completely out of Bobby's hands because Mama hung up on me and told me he ain't getting jack. And I know that. You know that. She knows that. Everybody knows that. But now Bobby still doesn't have a laptop. And he's not getting one. But if Mom said, and moms would say, there's no like backup thing. Like, what if I can't afford that? I don't know, Mom. So there are.
Back you up a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah. Just to say, I think one of the board members for the Cleveland City Schools, they're trying to address that. They were actually awarded the Yes I Can project, right? So that as of today, Cleveland, and not to say I didn't want you to just keep beating up on Cleveland. It's going to be much better. So we have, and that goes through partnerships. The city of Cleveland was able to get that because of the partnerships that were put together. So they're a part of that big Yes I Can multi-million-dollar project. But say yes to education, yes. You know, y'all know I'll knock some names down. I'll be in the ballpark. But, I mean, you're just wonderful with all the things that you're doing with the kids. You know, I really appreciate it and everything, but I know we got to, I was looking, our time is running down. And Lazone needs to say at least 2 words.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that. Thanks for that. I mean, and it's such it pulls out so many important threads. That's right. So, Lazone, Kansas City is known for what happened with Google Fiber being set up in Kansas City, one of the first cities it came to. You were there before Google Fiber was established, and so how did that presence, that pre-work, really impact what that network looked like and the outcomes for communities getting connected?
Well, before Google Fiber chose Kansas City, Kansas first for their Google Fiber experiment, and then they chose Kansas City, Missouri, I was already working in a part of Kansas City, Kansas that would be considered the most impoverished in the state as far as that zip code. I was working in a building called the Turner House in Caddy Corner. From here to the back corner there was the oldest and largest public development project in the state of Kansas. And right down the hill was an elementary or middle school, and I saw kids walking past this Turner House where I was working at to go to the large projects every day. And, you know, I live in Topeka, and I was actually working in the Kansas City area, commuting back and forth about 45 minutes every day, or commuting to Leavenworth. We had just got a contract through the welfare agency to help adults. And so I had envisioned having a wireless network because I'm watching the dynamics of people coming and going. And so I was trying to bring the partners together, the housing authority personnel. And, you know, when you're dealing with bureaucrats who really don't understand technology, it's easy for them to say no or to avoid the conversation. And they basically avoided the conversation for a long time. But once Google Fiber came and chose Kansas City, Kansas, they actually did a report, and they started bringing up the tempo, raising the conversation about the haves and the have-nots in digital technology. Not just on the Kansas side, but on the Missouri side too. There's a dividing line, whereas when you look at the income on this side, they're wealthy. On this side, it's historically poor. We have racial dividing lines that have been in a lot of cities across the United States. And so when there was the fiber hoods where you had to get people signed up, if they wanted to be considered for Google Fiber, and you had to put like $10, but had to be a card, and most of them didn't have a debit card. And so I went and worked with others to sort of negotiate with the powers that be that put together the money to make sure that the lowest income zip code in Wyandotte County did not go without Google Fiber. It did not meet its fiberhood. So that kick-started the conversation with the Housing Authority that they weren't really conscious. Their Housing Authority is about getting people in their units. They're not about technology and Wi-Fi developments and different things. So, even the generations of families, historical there, the churches, the faith-based, the old grandmothers, they didn't understand this. It's like, why am I driving 45 minutes from Topeka to go to these meetings just to wear a banner on there promoting this fiberhood that I have no children, I have no property, because I saw in the future that this is going to be something of significance for these young people that grow up in there. Now, there's some challenges still, but a lot of positive things. I know that's where I met Rick Dean and Michael Limata with Connecting for Good at that time. I brought them to the table where they started speaking with the Kansas City, Kansas Housing Authority. This is what led to the large wide area public Wi-Fi and kick-started the computer tech center in there. And so for me, it's sort of like a model to whereas the advocates, there was people who were generational, people who were born there, who said, well, you don't need to be coming here. This isn't your community. Don't come here. It's like, but you're not driving 5 miles across the river over to Kansas City, Missouri, where they are meeting and talking about Google Fiber, the future, where you can go and see how fast the speed is and no more buffering and what this is going to mean to the schools and the libraries and different things. So that was really one of the eye-opening moment for me in advocacy, because the workforce center people weren't advocating. The welfare agency case managers weren't advocating. The mayors and others weren't really conscious of technology. And so, but as adults, if we care about this, we must also use our knowledge and be the best advocates to make sure that those who don't have a voice to speak for themselves have somebody making sure that resources don't bypass them.
Can I back up on that a little bit? And just to add to that, some of you had read the redlining article that CYC did. Actually, Bill Callahan was the author of it. And it was published, NDIA accepted it, and for the city of Cleveland. There were, like I say, a lot of areas in my area, Glenville, Huff, Wade Park, just without connectivity. I mean, just like they could be in rural, because some of them are like getting 378, going up and probably 0 coming down. And they're paying for services with that low quality internet connection. And as she talked about the entering suburbs, they're paying $50 and where we are, and getting that low quality service, and then in the entering suburbs, they're getting 50 megs and some of them 100 megs, almost sometimes for the same amount of money. So that redlining article, we all, part of the CYC was saying, this was really good. It was about AT&T, and I'm speaking out about it now because we have, been told by a close source that AT&T is going to address that problem. Just through the collaborations and partnerships that we talked about, and I talk about it because AT&T supports my Super Tech Day, my giant senior Super Tech Day, where the seniors bring all of their devices in and we address it, and we try to help them with anything that they want to try to learn, or app that they need to download, or anything they want to do on their mobile technology, be it their cell phone, their watches, or the iPads, or the tablets. So, and it's a small grant, but we kept that nurturing our contact. We're not trying to jump on AT&T. We just want them to do better in our neighborhoods. And I just want to say today we can say they're about to do better in our neighborhoods. There's fiber being deployed in all of the redlining areas that were talked about in that article. If you get a chance, go on the NDIA website or the CYC website, and I believe you can catch it on my little news feed where I catch up all this stuff on the ASC3 website. But just talking about what you said, you have to go across the bridge and you have to advocate for the people we serve.
That's right. Thanks for that. So we've got a few more minutes, and so in this last bit, it would just be great to hear any just questions for this panel from the audience, or short reflections. And so I see a hand here. We'll go with you first.
Well, first of all, thank you, because I learned so much. I love your digital justice framework, looking at the infrastructure and structural issues, not just helping people, but advocating for people. Several of you mentioned in passing at points about online job applications. And I'm curious, now that we're looking under the hood a little, what does it actually look like? Like, how do you see people get a job through an online job service thing? Because I think there are filters, I think it's a bit racialized. I'm wondering what it really looks like. How well does that work for people if they're meant to do that on their own?
All right. So that's a great question. I'm realizing just because of time, let's hold these together, and then that'll form our panel's final comments. So let's go to the back, and then we'll go up to you. So.
Bryan, can you repeat? I'll
Oh.
try to get this to work. Can you sort of repeat so that
Sure. So it's on the video.
everybody can hear?
That's great. So the question thought on, coming from the audience member was, do these job applications, online job application processes actually work? What's happening to people when their applications put into the ether? Yeah.
Testing.
Do you want to? Yes.
First of all, thank you so much for the richness of what you have presented to us. And I just wanted to say, it's kind of obvious, I just want to say it out loud. I'm Dr. Rice, I do research on the digital divide in particular. But diversity, we need to have many different kinds of people sitting in a room just like this and just having the opportunity to honor each other with hearing what we say. Because that is how we can really make change. I love data. We have to have data. But unless you have a diverse eye point looking at that data, things will go unnoticed with the numbers right in front of you. So I just wanted to encourage your work and to say you are fabulous with what you're doing. I want to get your cards. And I just want to applaud what you experienced today with the groups of people talking and hearing and listening.
That's great. Thanks for that, Dr. Price. Thanks for that.
Thank you all. Like everyone said, this has inspired a lot of reflection on my own practices. My name's Britt from Peer-to-Peer University.
Excuse me, there's a.
Oh, great.
I was just thanking them, saying how great they were for the record. My name is Griff, and something I think when Shenee and Wanda, especially you, when I'm thinking about the digitized report cards, the experience in the hospital or the nurse's office, I'm reminded that digitization is not a neutral choice, and that we live in a society right now that is basically digitizing everything and leaving the implementation to civil society and taxpayers, and that's what companies are more or less allowed to do. And the thing that I'm sort of reflecting on, we're all here doing important work for digital inclusion, but I'm wondering, is there space in digital inclusion for a resistance to digitization in certain cases? And I'd love to hear your reflections on that.
That's great. So we had a question about online job applications, the process around that. We had just an affirmation for creating diverse spaces to have these conversations. And then we had just this last question on resistance around digitization. When everything's going online, is there some need to push for not everything to be online? So, yeah, and so why don't we just go down the line, use it as your last thoughts, but keep it a minute or two.
Oh, you want me to start first?
Well, as far as the job applications, they do work, and for us, it gets back to the point to whereas we're a service provider, we're not just going to let them go down to the workforce center and do it on their own. You can navigate and go online to apply for work, but you can't, if no one is there and can see your grammatical errors, your spelling errors and different things. Now, many a times the job is won in the interview when you know how to answer the questions on the credentials that you have, or the skills that you have. So that's where we sort of work comprehensively. We work as a work site to get you some skills and close that gap. We work with, and it's an individual thing. I can't say for people just go online on their own. And then we work with our Chamber of Commerce. Chambers of Commerce are a network of corporations, and HR people normally go there. And we build ourselves up within that advocacy that when they see our agency name or my name on there as a reference, whether that's a paper application or online, if I've done my job, then they're going to be given some type of extra assistance or extra consideration, because they know that this is what our agency is doing. So our agencies have to build some credits for itself, that they know that we're not just trying to pass along anybody. We're trying to build you the best employee that you can get your foot in the door. And if we do that, that's going to reverberate into the next household and the next household in that community. It brings us more clients to work with, but we're at a point now where companies say, just send me somebody who can wake up on time, come back after their first check, and can take orders. We can train anybody. And so what we try to do is to help vet those. If you put a job in the newspaper right now, 1,000 people will show up. Well, you know, if we go through IBSA, they can help us get the top 10 people who they know that are coming in every day, are doing everything, and they're going to be very appreciated for the job. And they know that we're always working with low-income individuals that are with families. So it is working. But we do have to have agencies, I believe, that are more engaged in the community and networking on their behalf, and making sure that they put their best foot forward whenever they apply.
To that job application piece, somehow AARP got my phone number, and they started sending me their seniors who are looking to work. And so I've been training a lot of them one-on-one. And the first thing, and just a little background about myself, I am an official job jumper. Not anymore because I love my job, but I am very, very good at resumes and applications and selling myself. I almost think that if it's a job that I have absolutely no skills for, give me a little time and I can make a resume and a job application that'll get me that job. I use that when I'm working with my seniors and anybody else who's doing a job application. What is usually the holdup is it's job by job, company by company. It could take you 2 to 3 hours to fill out a job application. It really can, if you're doing it right. If you're serious about this position and you're thinking through your phrasing and how you're delivering your duties and your credentials and the things you know, it can take an exorbitant amount of time. And I am a computer user. I tell people all the time, I use the internet when I pay by the minute. That's how long I've been using the internet. So 2 hours for me is not the end of my world. I spend that much time on the computer scrolling through Amazon. But if you are new to computers, and I sit you in front of a job application, and after the first 30 minutes, they look at me like, girl, do you think I'm about to sit? And these are my seniors, so that's how they talk to me. Girl, you think I'm about to sit here for 2 hours and do this? And I say, Miss Vicky, this is the process. This is what we have to do. And you're looking for a job, so this ain't the only time we got to do this. We got to do this over and over and over again. So one, it's that process of just getting through it. Can you take what your skills are that you have? And some of my seniors have years of experience in so many different things. But can you take that and put it into a phrase that an employer will see, understand, and use and call you back? So yes, they are very effective. And yes, they do work. And it's kind of like, it's a question that it doesn't matter, because they're not going away. There are no more paper applications. You can't go in Wendy's and say, I need a paper application. They're going to tell you to go online. So it's not an option. This is something you must do, unless you got a friend or a family member that works there. This is happening. So you need to just get used to it. But what I will say is there are free online job application simulators. So if you know people who struggle, and just Google that, and I love Google, so Google that. Free online job application simulators. Let them practice there first before it counts. Let them print that out and not read that for yourself and see all the words you left out. See how many grammatical errors you have, if you know what grammatical errors are. If not, let's work through this so I can show you and get you prepared so you don't make these mistakes again. So, and that translates right into any other application, where there's a home loan application, or you have to figure out your social service applications. We have a program where we will help you work through your social service applications, because in Cleveland, Cuyahoga County, you can apply for all of your benefits to everybody online, and unfortunately, that's pretty much the only way to do it now. Even if you have to come in to do the application, you have to go online and schedule an appointment. So that application skill is huge. So yeah, that's the applications.
Yeah. And I'm going to speak on the resistance part. You know, when I first started, I used to get, I would say 60-70% resistance. I don't want to do that. Don't understand it, don't want to be bothered with it. But as awareness over the years have let folks know that this is a digital world, is here to stay, I can say there's much less resistance. But the resistance we do get is because of feeling safe, security, and privacy. So added to the curriculum was an extensive set of new information about security and about privacy. And I was so glad I was here in the federal policy setting yesterday, because we got a lot of that on the privacy end and the advocacy of making sure that we get those rules, net neutrality, get that back, and then of course get privacy as part of something that we do want. We want to keep the good things, but we definitely want the bad things regulated. But so resistance, yes, there still is. There's always going to be. I mean, I'm not just with the seniors we serve, or the individuals we serve, but businesses, because even a lot of small businesses feel like they don't think their information could be online. They don't see the growth that they could have. But then I feel like that is our responsibility to make sure that we continue to educate on security, on privacy, and so that they can have economic growth, and so that all of our seniors, and not just seniors, but my seniors are 45 and up, so mature adults and all, so that they all can participate.
About the resistance too, the one area where I feel like digital isn't coming in is that case management. When people are coming in to receive housing information, or those HIPAA and FERPA and those type questions, I don't think that's going to be digitized, because one, working where I work, you got to weed out who's lying to you, who's trying to get over on the social services, who's trying to get help when they don't really need it. So I feel like that will always have that personal face-to-face component. But right after that is that data management and entry, which goes right back to the digital. But as far as that person-to-person, I got to be able to see you look in your eye. One of my counselors who does foreclosure, I got to look in their eyes and see if this is really are you really in need? Are you really coming to me with a serious issue or not? So I think that case management stuff is where that goes.
Can we just give it up for this wonderful panel? All right. So we're at time. So thank you all for being a part of the discussion. I've learned a lot. Wanda has some materials up here for us. Feel free to grab us during the break. And thanks so much for joining.